Thank you so much. Before we dive in, let me just say how honored, genuinely honored I am to be here today in a room. I mean, I know it's a virtual room, but in a room full of people who have served this country with pride, honor, and courage. Honestly, I think after this call, I'm going to have to call my parents and tell them that their son just had the privilege of talking with some real life heroes. So, let's get started and make this session as impactful as you all deserve. We are from IBM, more specifically IBM, the Department of Corporate Social Responsibility. At IBM, we combine our talent, technology, and network of partners to drive positive change at scale. Education and skilling program are central to our corporate social responsibility mission, helping close the opportunity gap. We've committed to tech education for nearly a century, from 1940 years before I was born, of course, by working with Columbia University to today AI training. Our goal is to foster innovation and expand opportunity in communities all around the world. Today, we are talking about AI. And when it comes to AI, skills are the currency of the AI economy. In education, our education system must keep pace with evolving job demands. To meet these needs, at IBM SkillsBuild, we collaborate with schools, nonprofit, government, and employer to align learning with workforce needs. Our approach includes global and regional partnership, digital credential, and role-aligned learning. We prioritize broad access from high school students and university learners to mid-careers learner. These efforts are essential to building a more future-ready workforce. So in 2021, IBM committed to skill 30 million people globally by 2030, including 2 million in AI by 2026, so next year. So far, we've reached over 16 million learners globally and trained approximately 1.1 in AI specifically. How do we do that? We do it through a program called IBM SkillsBuild. It's a free technology education program offering learners free access to over 1,000 courses on technology and workplace skills such as AI, cybersecurity, cloud, and much more. So we serve high school students, university students, adult learners, and today veterans. So you will learn IBM branded digital credential in AI, cloud, cybersecurity, and you will be able to get coaching from IBM volunteers like today, and much more. Those certificates are recognized by employers and help open doors to tech career. So how do we start? I know I've talked a lot, but again, today this session is meant to be very interactive. So, I'm sure you are all on your computer now. If you're on a computer and you have a phone in your hands, you can go ahead and scan this QR code, or if you prefer, you can just type this link in your browser, ibm.biz/BDBBLD. And then when you do that, I'm going to do a demonstration on our SkillsBuild platform. So first, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and then share it again. Give me just 10 seconds. Switching screen, and then now I believe I'm sharing my screen again one more time. And I believe you all can see my Chrome account, my Chrome page. So I've put in the search bar the address ibm.b/bdbbld. Again, I really encourage you to use the QR code and the link that I have in the chat because they are gonna, and thank you very much, Kiki, for pasting that in the chat. Please do not go to skillsbuild.org, use this specific link. Once you use this specific link, you will be redirected to the page that I'm going to show you because together we are going to do a micro learning together. So we are going to take a short 15-minute course together. So when you go onto the link, it's going to send you to this page. Hi there, how would you like to log into IBM SkillsBuild? If you do not have an account with us, your first step is to click on sign up right here. And then the easiest way to start to sign up on our platform is to use Google or your Gmail account. I believe we all have a Gmail account. This is the quickest way to sign up. So once you click on sign up with Google/Gmail.
And Emil, do you mind popping that link into the chat? The one I clicked or the one I put into the chat wasn't working. I might have copied it wrong.
Okay, let me try one more time to copy the link in the chat again. Is it working? Oh, 1 second. This one should be working now. If it doesn't work, I can provide you with another link, which is a little bit longer, but it's still the same link that I've created. And I'm pasting this link again in the chat. This is the same link. I've just not shortened that one. And it should work now. Okay. So with that link, you just have to click on the link and you'll be redirected to the registration page. Once you are on the registration page, you will see this page. Let's set up your profile. And then you will fill out your basic information. So your first name, your last name. In this specific case, I'm using the name of the organization. No Worker Left Behind as a family name. This is not my family name, of course. The most important part, when you come here, I can say that I'm in Massachusetts, for example, your sponsoring organization, this is No Worker Left Behind, because that specific link has been customized for the organization. So if you are on this specific page and you do not see No Worker Left Behind, please go back to the chat and click on the link again. You should be able to see it. If you already have an account with IBM SkillsBuild, it's going to send you to a different page. So additional information, let's just say we are trying to enhance current career, and yes, IBM can send an email. And then we will check those two boxes to accept our terms and condition. So again, the basic information, first name, last name, the location, the sponsoring organization, No Worker Left Behind, and then you check those two boxes, and you can now press on submit, and your registration is done. So the system is going to take a few seconds. As you can see, success, your account is created, and you do not have to do anything. You just have to stay on the page, and boom, now you have access to our platform. And I know a lot of you are veterans, so you've been working a lot on the field, but you are coming back to work as some of us are going to work as civilian. And for that, you have to learn how to craft your professional image online. Everything is online now, and your online presence has become your first impression. So this small micro learning of 20 minutes, we'll finish it in 5 minutes because this is going to be very quick before the actual workshop. So when you come onto this page, you click on Go to Activity. Once you click on Go to Activity, you are going to go to a new page. And then on this page, you either click on Start or you click right here. It's the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click here. And I will have access to the main page, crafting your professional image online. So once you are here, you just have to click on the arrow and you have access to the page. So crafting your professional image online. What's the first thing you do when you hear about someone you don't know? That's right, you look them up online. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have already typed my name onto Google to make sure that I am who I am. So yes, I am actually who I am if you look me up right now on LinkedIn or on Google. So your online presence is often the first impression you give to someone. Once you're on this page, once you finish reading, you click on next. And then understanding your digital footprint here, The course is talking about your digital footprint, the traces that you are leaving behind as you interact online. So we are talking about personal website and portfolio if you do have one. If you don't have one, your online interaction, whether it's a comment, a review, or a conversation where you participated online. And most importantly, your social media accounts. We all have at least one social media account now to be connected with our family. So again, this is your digital footprint. And then we have an optional reflection activity. Search for your name online. What do you see when you take a moment to Google yourself? If I have to Google myself very quickly and I type my own name, you can see the first thing that appear is my LinkedIn page and all the other things I have done when I was still a student in New York City. So, what do you find? Are there any picture or post or website related to you? There is what show up, is what shows up what you want people to see? A little bit, yes. And is there anything you might want to change or clean up? I don't really think so. Also, I can click on next and go to the other one, engaging with professional network. The premier platform for professional is LinkedIn. We all have a LinkedIn account. If you do not have a LinkedIn account, please make sure to create one today after this call. Is really important to be able to network with other people. And then a few details about LinkedIn, a few details about industry-specific online community and professional association and group. Tips for networking online. You have a few tips. The first one, connect with peer and mentor. Number two, engage actively by commenting and sharing content. And most importantly, stay professional. So we go to the social media best practice. The social media presence play a key role in shaping how other people perceives you. It's very important to have a positive image, especially in this day and age. A few best practice. One, manage your privacy setting. When we talk about Facebook and Instagram, you have the ability to protect your personal information. But on LinkedIn, you want to have a public profile so that recruiters or people who want to connect with you at a professional level know who you are. Pick a professional picture, a nice picture, always a nice and smiling picture, and create a cohesive brand across platform. Positive content creation, what you share online plays a significant role in shaping how others perceive you. So remember to share your achievement. You are a service member or you are a service member. You serve this country with pride. It's really important to be able to share that online. I mean, this is not your community service if you have done community service and your hobbies and interests. And then I'm continuing to the next. The most important part here, using AI tools for online content creation. Artificial intelligence tool like ChatGPT, and I'm sure you've all heard of ChatGPT, can help you create professional content quickly and easily. At IBM, we have a tool that we call Watson X. It's an internal tool that we use for AI, but again, any tool, it's also free. So you can just go type IBM Watson X and you will have access to it. But for the purpose of this course, we are just going to go with ChatGPT. So with AI tool like ChatGPT, you can create and craft clear and concise bio that highlight your achievement. It's really important that you tell the tool to you first give the information about yourself about the tool. Otherwise, the tool will have to create an imaginary persona, which is actually not you. So be sure to personalize it and inject your own voice and tone to make it feel authentic. And then you can also use ChatGPT to write a resume and cover letter. And finally, you can use it for social media posts. I've read a recent article that said that a lot of content right now is being written by AI. So again, please use it proficiently. So best practice for LinkedIn, a strong LinkedIn profile is essential for showcasing your professional brand. When you go onto LinkedIn, uh, we have a sample of a page here. The first thing is what your profile picture. You can see here a high quality professional headshot. Ensure your face is clearly visible. And if you go on my LinkedIn page, you will see my face is very bright and shiny. Your headline, who are you? What are you doing? I am a learning experience designer at IBM, and you will see it on my LinkedIn page as well. And then educational licenses, you will see where I've been to school, the volunteer work that I have done, and the few licenses that I have. We continue when we have the feature, 2, 3 feature. You can also include your resume, your portfolio work, really important, and your website if you do have one. Those features are really important to showcase who you are. And about yourself, try to keep your about yourself to 100 or 200 words at most. So include your job title, your years of experience, education, your value proposition. You've been a service member. You have a lot of value proposition and skills and accomplishments that you should be proud of. And then finally, you talk about your experience. You add your experience, your skills, and other accomplishments. So it's very important to build a wide uh, web of connection on LinkedIn. By in order to do that, you just have to personalize your connection, engage with content, and share your expertise. Most importantly, follow up and stay in touch. We are all human. We need a community to survive. So, pop quiz. I know I've been going really, really fast, but again, my colleague is already here, so I don't want to take too much of his time. So, the first question is, which of the following is not a recommended strategy for building a professional online image? If we have to do like Jeopardy, let's go 1, 2. Of course, it's post controversial content to spark conversation and engagements. This is the right answer for the people who guess correctly. Question number 2, what's one key benefit of having a strong digital footprint? It guarantees you will get a job interview? Maybe. It can help you shape how future employers and mentors view you? Yeah, maybe. It automatically removes any content that might appear online, or it allows you to control all information about what you shared on the internet. So drum roll, I believe the answer is this. It can help you shape how future employers and mentors view you. And final question, how can AI tools like ChatGPT help you manage your digital footprint? Let's go 3, 2. AI tools can help you craft professional bios, social media posts, and cover letter that align with your personal brand. So this is correct. As you can see, it's a very short micro learning. It's short and sweet, but those tips are really, really helpful. I've used it as well. My LinkedIn profile was not like that a few months ago. So after taking the course, you can see that my LinkedIn profile is very great. So thank you so much. I'm going to, and then when you finish the course, we have much more courses. This was just a small course, but you have digital credential, you have in-depth courses on AI, cybersecurity, and cloud that you can take to increase your skills. And when you finish, you just have to click on exit the course and you are back to the main page. So thank you so much for listening to me. I'm going to go over and pass it to my colleague, Matthew.
Thanks, Emil. And hope everyone's having a good day. Happy belated Veterans Day. Thank you all for your service. I'm excited to be here. My name is Matthew Fernbach. I am the head of AI product and strategy for corporate development at IBM. So I'm helping to transform our M&A process with AI. And maybe Deeksha, I don't know if is there a way to either submit answers in the chat. There's a few perspective interactive parts of this. So I was just wondering if there's any ability to either get someone's answers or get someone's ideas in the chat or anything like that.
So Matthew, this is streaming live on YouTube as well. We'll monitor both YouTube as well as the channel on the website and see if we can get some thoughts for you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so just opening up to start, I know Emil did a great job talking about the skills. I would love to just get a sense of if you could either put comments in the chat or on the YouTube channel. You know, when you hear about AI, you know, what are the types of things that you think of? And I'll give you just a few seconds to submit that. And maybe Disha, if you see any coming in, if you could relay them over, that'd be helpful.
Matthew, there is a little bit of delay in terms of the chat on YouTube because it takes it's at least 30 seconds behind
Okay.
after you ask the question. So might not be a very interactive session. We might want to flip it to talk about the key takeaways for the group. And I'm monitoring the YouTube channel. So if there are questions, I might interrupt you or we'll hold them for the very end.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. So if you could, I can get started. I'm happy to share my screen. As we're going through this, if you want to just put in what you think of when you hear of AI, and also, what do you want to get out of this session? If there are any key topics that you want to focus on, that would be, really, really great because then I could tailor the message a little bit to what you're looking for. But either way, in this session, we're going to be covering a few different things. One is just some of the foundational knowledge around AI, what it is and what it isn't, how it shows up in everyday life, the evolution of AI over time. And I think now we're sort of entering, a next phase of AI. Key terminologies and foundations having to do with skills and roles, like what are the skills and roles that we see today? Where do we see that heading in the future? And then simple steps for you to get started on your journey. So just to kick off on like what AI is, essentially, AI is the ability for machines or artificial intelligence models to be able to predict an outcome based on historical data, probabilities, etc. So it's to predict an unknown, oftentimes based on a set of known data. And these tasks include learning from data, recognizing images, understanding language. You're probably familiar with the large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini, and maybe some others where you're able to interact with the large language model, and it's able to leverage all the data that it has in its training set to be able to make a prediction on what are the best responses for you. And it's becoming, as you know, more and more pervasive across so many different industries like healthcare, finance, education, entertainment, technology. Really, it's pervasive throughout the entire world right now. And as I was mentioning, just to kick off, a lot of the things that you'll see that are AI are typically systems that are used that predict an outcome based on underlying data, using ranging from simple to complex algorithms. And some simple, use case and tools were some of that I've spoken about. Some of these on the right that are not AI are a little bit more, rule-based. So for example, a spell checker is just simply doing a rule to check if that word exists in a dictionary. And if it's not, it's underlining that as something that's wrong. A more, robust AI system is using a model or algorithm to predict an outcome based on the underlying data. There's always a fun interactive session here to start. And I know that you can't submit the answers, but it'd be fun even just to play at home, maybe in the room if you want to do comment on the YouTube channel A or B, for the purposes of demonstrating how powerful AI is today. And also just to do a fun session to kick us off. There are 4 image sets. One is AI generated and the other is a real image. And in this session, even on your own, I'd like you to just try to determine which one is AI generated and which one is not. So in this first one, we have 2 types of frogs. If you want to just either comment in the YouTube or even in your own head, let us know which one you think is AI generated, image A or image B. I'll just do a few seconds and then I'll give the answer.
Matthew, we're getting the image B here as AI generated.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. Actually, in this one, AI is generated image A. And the way that you could tell in this particular image, although as AI, like these are old images as well, as AI has gotten more advanced, it's harder and harder to spot. But here you can see the differentiator is simple round spots versus complex patterns. But we're even seeing that become more and more blurred as we go on. Looking at the second image, which one is AI, image A or image B?
Image B is AI.
Okay. Yeah, in this one, you can see some of the fingers and the hands are misplaced. Oftentimes in early AI systems, that was a signal that it was generated by AI. Looking into this next image, any differentiator, image A or image B.
So the answer I'm getting on YouTube is image A. I'm not sure if that was for the previous one or B. I don't know. There is a little bit of a lag.
No,
But I'm
all
seeing
good.
on you.
All good. And I think the ones that are coming in later are the ones that are correct because, you can see more of a simple shuttle, more of a detailed shuttle. This one's a little bit more AI generated. And then I think maybe one or two more just to get the juices flowing, getting people engaged. Image A or image B here. And
I still have the shuttle responses
no
right now
worries.
on my YouTube.
No worries. If it's coming in, it's all right. So in this one of the ways that you can tell, and maybe still in some video AI generators, you can tell that some of the words that you'll see might be illegible or jumbled. This is something that AI had struggled with early on, where this one has a little bit more legible text, especially when you're prompting an AI. Sometimes they'll blur letters and things like that, and it still happens from time to time. And then last one, which one is AI, image A or image B?
I think on YouTube people did get the earlier one right
Nice,
with the fake words.
nice. That's great. All right, and hopefully they have some time to give answers for this one. This one is actually a little bit of a trick. They're actually both AI because this is a famous basketball player for those in the audience that are familiar, named Allen Iverson, and his nickname was AI. So this was more of a joke to just keep us going along. I think today we're going to be focusing more from here on out on what are the different evolutions of AI, what are the skills and jobs and roles, and some of the foundational key concepts as we go forward. And then Dishal, I might have a few, more interactive portion where I think the YouTube channel, even with the delay, would be a great place to put that in.
Absolutely. And this is getting scary. It's
Yeah,
getting very close to real.
exactly. And the reason I show this exercise, one is because it's a fun, interactive exercise with the audience, but at the same time, it's, keys on a key skill and role that is becoming more and more prevalent, where AI is getting harder to spot what is and what isn't AI. Like even that exercise, I believe, was from a year or more ago. So if I did the same exercise with updated images today, it might be near impossible to tell. And one of the key skills and concepts that are coming out of this is AI ethics, data privacy, explainability, and trust are becoming more and more foundational to any successful AI professional or AI system. You have to be able to register authenticity, but also whenever you're predicting something with an AI model, there's a lot of skepticism and questions about what's going on underneath the hood. And so there are some skills that are related to just explainability and trust that we'll talk about as we go on. That is increasingly going to become more important as we think about building responsible AI for the future. To set the stage a little bit, talking a little bit just about, and I'll keep this briefly, but AI has been evolving over time. It's not necessarily a new concept. I think what's new is this, when ChatGPT came on the scene a few years ago with this concept of really good generative AI models that could almost mimic human language. But the first tests around, can an AI system almost act like a human evolved during even as early as the 1950s with the Turing tests, where Alan Turing would have these responses to a prompt, and you would have to try to differentiate, is this a human response or is it AI response? And that became known as the Turing test. There at 1956, there was this Dartmouth conference where a lot of the main AI and intellectual leaders in the world came together. I think they coined the term artificial intelligence there. There was a lot of excitement about the potential of AI that led to an AI winter, which led to a little bit of disappointment in the actual outcomes of AI because we saw maybe compute was not as up to speed. Some of the use cases weren't as obvious. So the hype didn't lead up to the expectations. And I feel like even we got a little bit of a sense of that even recently, where we're seeing reports from like MIT or other studies saying, even with the new Gen AI wave, that lots of enterprise pilots are failing. People are not getting the use out of AI as they were thinking about. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in AI going forward. And then there's the birth of machine learning and deep learning. I'll talk about the definitions of some of these concepts, but maybe if you could put in the chat, like, are there any seminal moments about AI that you can remember in your lifetime where you were either like really impressed about an AI accomplishment or you saw it in the news or on TV or something like that? I think there are a few throughout history that stand out, but feel free to use the YouTube comments to, say like, oh, here's a moment that was like woke me up that AI was really impactful or something that I saw somewhere noticeable.
I think, Matthew, for me, there were two that kind of stand out is the Jeopardy example. That was a big one, I think. And then I also think, kind of the release of generative AI for the public several years ago. I think that really transformed the way in which we talk about AI and how we use it in our everyday world, because I think before that we were using it, but we didn't necessarily know we were using it.
That's a great point and also a great segue. Andisha, I don't know if there's anything in
Yes,
the channel.
yes. So somebody's written AI and research analysis.
Okay.
That was a big one for them. And I would say for me, it's the fake videos. When I started looking at those and don't know which ones are real, which ones are not.
Yeah, those are all over the place, and especially, prevalent during, political seasons and things like that. That becomes really, really important. Um, So yeah, thank you for all your answers. The AI in research analysis we can talk about a little bit too. And I think Kiki, to your point, that segues nicely, mostly because we're coming from IBM. It's so rooted in our history, but also this was something that was really impressive at the time as well. So IBM had a product called Watson, and it participated on Jeopardy, where it went against and a lot of you may know this, but it went against the former champions of Jeopardy. And really did a great job of blowing them out of the water in a lot of cases and doing extremely well in this competition, where this was sort of the first instance or one of the first instances on such a nationally publicized event where artificial intelligence was competing with humans at things that previously they thought that a computer couldn't do, which is, very quickly understand questions, reason, find the data, and act upon it. Almost more impressive than that was my own stint against Watson, where this is in IBM research, where a few years back at this point, I was actually able to sort of recreate that picture itself. I think some other moments that come to mind, I think the advent of ChatGPT was huge. It democratized AI a ton to be able to interact with it so easily on your phone. The others that come to mind is IBM's Deep Blue, which was the chess AI that competed, I think, against Gary Kasparov or some of the chess champions. Others are like AlphaGo, where there was a computer, that played in this Chinese game called Go. That was a game that people, really thought would never be, mastered. And they actually did a move. I forget which move it was. It might have been 17 or something like that, where no human had ever even thought of doing that move, and they thought it was a mistake, but it ended up being, a move that ended up changing the course of the game and really changing how people think about AI. Okay. So now going into a few questions. And this one you could also put in the comments as well. Like, I think before we even talk about the skills and what's needed, I always like to start with, we're doing a lot of work in IBM and even in my role to build helpful AI and AI that's actually used to solve a problem. And I know with all of you people who are very mission oriented, likely at the front, at the core, there's so many instances today where people are trying to throw AI onto a problem that doesn't necessarily need AI, almost like an AI hammer looking for a nail. So, I think this will align with this group particularly because, you're also focused on how can we continue to make things better and help people and using AI as a tool. So I don't know if there's anything in the comments or chat, if there's any first steps to successfully building helpful AI, but then I'll go through my framework. Okay. DJ, if there is any, feel free to relay over, but I'll just get
So,
started.
so what I am seeing, I think it's maybe the answer for the last question where people are still writing AI for coding and other things where they see AI increasingly impacting their lives.
Cool.
And as I think about this question, the first step to successfully building helpful AI, I think is really understanding how it works and also thinking of real use cases where it can help. Somebody's just written accomplishing administrative task.
Okay. Nice. That's a very prominent use case. To fill AI where the problem is like, we have these administrative tasks that typically are either rules-based or very data-oriented. So that's the problem at hand. And the AI is used to solve a problem. So I love how you're thinking about it like that. How it works and real use cases. I think those are 100% critical parts of this. And I'll show you where that fits in. I think that comes a little bit later, but my, first thought here is getting started on your journey to build helpful AI. Number one is always starting with, the people. So with the idea that AI is a tool that solves problems, it's first, understanding who are the people associated with that problem, right? Like, what are they doing today? What do they care about? What are their goals? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build a tool to help someone do something better, like an administrative AI tool is helping somebody, schedule something better or clear their calendar. But that person cares about an organized schedule or getting to places on time. And their problem is they may not have time to organize their life. That leads to the second point, which is problems. What are the problems that these people are facing? What are the challenges? What's preventing them from achieving their goals today? The third is the process. What is the current process that they're doing today? Like, what are the steps by steps do they take? What tools are they using? And not only what is their process today, but what does their ideal process look like? If you can outline a differentiator between what you're doing today and what they would want to do, you can identify if the solution then becomes AI rather than the other way around, where you start with like, I want to build AI, where can I apply it? Then is data. Do we actually have the data to make this unique and successful? What does it look like and where does it live? And then lastly is sort of like the how it works, right? Once you're identifying, all right, I have a problem that a person is having that can be solved by AI, and we have some data around it. And, not all the time you need a lot of data. Sometimes you just need prompts and instructions. But that's when you start to experiment on, all right, what model is the best? What methodology? Should I do machine learning? Should I do generative AI? How do I apply AI to this? And the thought here is like there are so many different aspects that relate to AI, and there are so many different skills related to all these different aspects, right? You'll have to think about the use cases or the model. How much value will this drive versus how much does it cost to actually build this? What are the ethics and governance around this? What are the KPIs? How do we measure the success of this? What data is available? Is it scattered in spreadsheets? Do I have it in a database? These are the questions that people are asking today around AI. But I would say at the core, it's still very human-centric, where unless you have a person understand the person that you're solving a problem for, you'll have some trouble building successful AI. And a lot of times you'll be that AI hammer looking for a nail rather than, I understand there's a problem that a person's facing. There's an opportunity to transform it, and AI is the application of it. And we're going to do this responsibly through all these other considerations. Cool. All right. Yeah, feel free if there's any questions or thoughts that come up in the chat on this sort of framework of starting with the people. Yeah, feel free to let me know. But next I'll dive into some of the terminologies and then even deeper into skills, jobs, and then where to go from here. All right. Now I'll shift to just like there are two aspects of this that I think are helpful. I think it's skills and also just like foundational knowledge. And you'll hear me talk about that a little bit more as the rest of the session goes. As far as the foundational knowledge, there's a few key concepts and definitions that will be helpful as we go. So the first is around like there are so many different types of AI that you'll see. But broadly today, I think they're broken up into a few different categories. But one is around machine learning, and on your own, like maybe like raise your hand or give a nod if you've heard of machine learning or you're familiar with it. But for those that are, or for those that aren't, machine learning is a little bit more of a traditional at this point form of AI, maybe not as much as you're used to as working back and forth with the ChatGPT or Gemini or any LLM that you're interacting with. But machine learning is a use case of AI where you have a ton of structured data. Maybe you're trying to predict someone's salary based on a data set that has all different aspects about like age, years experience, education, gender, those types of things. You can build models like that to predict, the salary of a new person coming in with all of those attributes. There's also other methodologies like time series where you're forecasting the next iteration of something that hasn't happened yet. That's often used in financial projections. But these fall under the category of more, traditional machine learning algorithms. Within that, you have deep learning, which is a little bit more of a nuanced and higher compute form of machine learning that may not always be as explainable as some of the machine learning models. And they leverage these pieces of information called neural networks that really mimic the brain activity. And I think, from left to right, you get from like most granular to most, specific, where machine learning is a very broad category. And neural networks are a very in-depth type of machine learning that uses very high compute and oftentimes not super explainable methodologies to get to predict an outcome, that you may want to. On the other hand, you'll have the broader category of generative AI. And generative AI is generally, predicting something new that hasn't really been seen before. And that could be new content in terms of text, images, voice, and videos. It's, usually trained on, large data sources from tens or thousands of different data sources, but it learns tons of patterns for input data to predict something that it hasn't seen before. And within that, there are two different types of, again, on the left is more broad. LLM is a type of foundation model. But foundation models are essentially models that are trained on, they're large, they're pre-trained. They're trained on tens and thousands of data sources, whether that be images or pictures or text or everything on the internet, to learn specific tasks. So you'll have a foundation model, maybe like DALL-E for image generation, or you'll have a foundation model like an LLM that's able to be tied to language. On the right hand, LLM is a specific type of foundation model where that's trained on large corpuses of text data to predict, the next token in a sentence, but it's also to just interact with people in a more of a textual format. And you probably heard of LLMs. So actually right now, if you can, I would love for you to put in the chat What are large language models that you've heard of? Like if you could just start naming them, which ones are you familiar with? And if there's any comments coming in, please let me know. And I guess bonus points if you can name IBM's large language model. If anybody can do that, you get bonus points. I'm not sure how to transfer to you at all, and I don't know what they represent, but you get major kudos.
So the first one that I see is Google Gamma.
Okay.
There's GPT, which
Yeah.
I think everyone knows.
Yeah.
I'm still monitoring the chat.
Okay. And I heard Google. I think Google's is actually is Gemini is their large language model. GPT is spot on. That's from OpenAI.
Claude is another one.
Claude. Yep, that's Anthropic's Claude. And anybody know IBM's large language model?
We should give people enough time to Google.
Yeah,
The
that's fair. That's fair. Or at least use a use a different large language model to like ChatGPT to ask what IBM's large language model is. I don't know, Kiki, if you wanna, not to put you on the spot, but if you want to jump in as well, otherwise I'll jump to the slide.
Yes. So IBM's is Granite.
Granite. Oh,
Yes. All right, thanks.
yeah.
For
I think
hopping.
I got Watson as IBM's, which seems like you guys have moved on from Watson to Granite.
Uh, I don't know if moved on is the right terminology per se. So Watson X is a flagship product of IBM, and it's the brand of IBM. Within the Watson X catalog, you'll have a few different solutions. Like you'll have Watson X.ai, which is a generative AI, foundation model platform that within it contains a lot of LLM, but it helps to manage your Gen AI solution. You'll have Watson X Orchestrate, which helps facilitate agentic workflows. And we'll talk about agents in a second as another key terminology. But Granite is the specific large language model that IBM has built. And it's contained within a lot of our products. There's also things like WatsonX.data that helps manage data structures and data lakes to help make your data enterprise ready, and WatsonX Governance that helps manage with assessing your model performance, monitoring drifts, mitigating hallucinations and making sure that it's up to enterprise standard. So to answer your question, it's that WatsonX brand is still alive and well, but Granite is IBM's foundation model underneath the hood. And I will say different models will have different strengths, and they'll have different sizes. So some of those other models like Llama is Facebook's or Meta's, by the way. I don't know if we covered that one. You'll have maybe larger parameter models that, do well in its own tasks, but sometimes a model like Granite is a smaller model that you could even like fine tune or apply to a very specific use case. And each one might have its advantages in terms of speed, performance, and costs. But this is one thing that people think about as you experiment with different models. I mentioned the terminology agent. So you may be familiar with assistants, where assistants typically like go back and forth with people in terms of answering questions. You think of phone assistants and operators that are now becoming more AI oriented. But agents are very much like assistants, and they're becoming a little bit more specialized to actually reason or understand what's the query that someone's asking, what's their reasoning behind it. And they're starting to be able to take actions based on people's behalf. So like a travel agent, say you're trying to book a trip somewhere, an LLM can engage with the user about their travel plans. It'll have access to your underlying data so you can understand your preferences and what you're really trying to do. And then it can make recommendations about flights, hotels, etc., and even take the action to book flights, hotels, and more, accordingly. To break down LLMs and agents a little bit more and just simplify it, large language models, like the ones that we had mentioned before, they typically have like a very good general knowledge of things. Like they're trained on hundreds of thousands of data sources, there are billions of parameters. And so they might have a foundational knowledge of like legal or sports or history. And these foundation models or large language models typically get enhanced with specialized data and instructions. So you can either apply data to it to make it more understanding of a specific subject, and you can give it instructions. And these are typically come in the form of prompts. And prompts are essentially you telling the LLM how to behave, right? You can say, hey, you're a legal expert, tell me how to understand this contract. Or, hey, you're a sports commentator, write all like the next, rewrite this famous book or the Bible in sports commentary language. So that's where LLMs and data become a little bit more specialized. And then you can apply that new specialized model on new information when it comes in. All right. Finally, want to talk about skills and how you can get started and how I think of it. So I guess this is a good one. We're in the YouTube channel or in the comments. Would love to talk for you to just put in like, what are some skills that you picked up either in service or, in your other work activities that have been transmissible or applicable to life or the workforce, right? Just like write skills that you've picked up with your experience, in the YouTube comments.
So I see people management.
Okay.
I also see leadership,
Okay.
resourcing.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Yeah. If they keep coming in, let me know. Those are great to start. What I'll posit here is that there are two elements that I think is going to lead to success in the future. One is the things that you're probably all here for today, which is the foundational literacy of what I call it, of AI. And that's where you're going to want to know some of the terms that I talked about, like what is an agent? What are LLMs? How do they operate? How do I build something responsibly? What are the ethics behind it? What are like the data platforms available? What's the infrastructure that we should use? How can we start thinking about quantum computing or generative AI or human AI interaction, continuous learning systems? Like all of these are foundational concepts that you're going to want to start picking up on. However, I would say that a lot of the skills that particularly with this group has picked up, I think of resilience, people management, talent development, leadership, communication, empathy. These are skills that are still going to be extremely important today and going forward for the application of AI. Because a lot of the knowledge that you'll find out down here is becoming a little bit more available and easier to pick up and learn. But you're always going to need to know how to apply an AI system to solve someone's problem, right? You could have the best performing AI or agent that ever has existed, but if you can't communicate the value of that to someone through communication skills, or if you can't lead a team to develop this or lead a system of agents to really understand what the problem at hand is and project management accordingly, you're not going to have the ability to build successful AI. So I think, it's often daunting to think about how, much you want to upskill or reskill. I would say there's a lot of ways to get this foundational knowledge, but I think this group in particular has a lot of these softer skills and already inherent from, your experiences that are going to become very, very important as time goes on, as to, apply this to AI systems and actually make AI useful. So think about how to continue to develop those skills, and you don't need to transform everything at one time. take these best aspects about you and start to pick up on these concepts, I think, as a starting point. And that will lead you really, really well to having success today and going forward. The other element of this here on a related note is, jobs like this have been transforming over time, right? And this, I think, is just the next evolution of a skill development that we'll see. And there are different studies that will say like, oh, there'll probably be a net generation of like 90 million or 90 billion jobs over time. But like AI is going to create new jobs. It's going to replace, some current jobs, maybe, related to administrivia or some of the things that we talked about earlier. But essentially, there will be just a different types of roles that, are typically available today. Jobs will be created, jobs will be destroyed, jobs will evolve. But thinking about some of the jobs and skill of the future, you'll be thinking about more generative AI engineers, AI product managers, data scientists, renewable energy and thinking about the environment is going to be increasingly important. AI and machine learning knowledge, sustainability expertise, strategic thinking. And then the emerging technologies here are around generative AI, agentic architecture, quantum computing, robotics, and edge computing. But this is not meant to be more of a comprehensive list. This is more to just set the tone of, jobs have always sort of evolved over time, and technology has been a big catalyst of this. And we're sort of going through that today. And it's important to start thinking about what are the types of skills that may exist today that may transform tomorrow. What are the types of roles that might do that? And there's a ton of information and content out there. Some of it I have in backup slides. I just don't know if we'll have time to get to the specifics of them. But how do you make yourself ready for the jobs of yesterday, jobs of today, but more importantly, the jobs of the future, and focus on those skills paired with your, strengths that you're already good at to come up with, I'm ready for this next era of work or the future of work. And I have a very specific role in this. And then finally, just some tips to get started. One, and this is something that's been helpful to me. There's new stuff about AI coming out every day. And AI 6 months ago looks very different than AI today. And AI landscape today is going to be look different than 6 months from now. I'm certain of that. So it's important to keep up to date. I think what's been helpful for me is I have a few daily podcasts, follow people on LinkedIn, custom news feeds, blogs, and content. These are great places to start to just get a daily routine of I'm on the pulse of AI. You can even ask an LLM to say like, hey, give me my daily AI report today. Like, what do I need to know? The second is actually use AI to learn. Knowledge has never been more accessible, in my opinion, because you're able to ask an LLM all about quantum computing. And I think a long time ago, you had to go to like a library and get an encyclopedia. More recently, you just Google it. Now, not only can you have a lot of the knowledge from that specific subject at your fingertips, but you could also ask follow-up questions. So it's almost like a tailored learning plan to fill in the blanks of the gaps that you have in your mind. There are also deep research modes and study modes that are available in here. And then build an experiment. I think one of the questions earlier was around like AI for coding, right? And that's one of the fields that's becoming more and more popular. And I know IBM has a few offerings around that. You'll see some on the, more consumer facing ones as well. But, coding and accessibility to build things is really easy, and not really easy, but it's really more accessible now. You still need like a little bit of foundational knowledge, but the term vibe coding is becoming more and more popular where you're instructing an LLM to write code for you. But I would say either build an experiment. I'm doing this myself, either through, trying to test out how to build an agent, either making content on LinkedIn because, the best way to learn is to teach. And even I'm going to start trying to do that, start passion projects, start building frameworks, but the tools are out there. To really get your hands dirty with AI. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit of the frameworks here where I guess some of the main takeaways are, your soft skills and your experience to this point is super valuable, and you're in a very unique position because of where you are. How can you pair that with the foundational literacy and knowledge of AI and start looking into LLMs, skills that you need to develop, agents, agentic workflows, architecture underneath it. Start picking up on those just so you have a foundational knowledge, and then also start building and experimenting. I think if you are building a resume, it's always really impressive, at least when I'm recruiting too, to see someone that's had the passion to say, like, I'm going to test out and build something on my own. I always think that's a differentiator because it shows you have hands-on expertise. And then that you can use all those other skills like leadership and communication, to continue to build out successful AI. But you do need to be able to speak the language of AI, at least to an extent, if not, have your own experience with it. So yeah, I don't know how we're doing on time. I think this might have gone to 4:15. So I just wanted to check in here to see if there are any questions or if there's any more topics that we want to hone in on.
So Matthew, we are getting lots of likes and hearts and 100% signs on the chat with all the slides that you're sharing. So I think it's resonating very much with the audience here. And in terms of the questions, yes, like if you guys have any questions, please write it on YouTube, and I'm going to share with Matthew here. One of the questions that I did have in mind, in case we don't get some questions on YouTube in time.
Sure. Yeah, if you have it, I don't know if your audio just cut out.
Yes, I can go ahead. What's your take on AI replacing jobs in defense, logistics, intelligence sectors, and how can veterans stay ahead of that curve?
Okay. So I think you're probably thinking, I don't know if there's specific companies that come to mind. I know I have a few. I actually don't have a ton of expertise in that industry specifically. So I'll answer this question, maybe in a different way. I think a lot of companies are focusing on the same problem. So I'm going to reframe this into the question that I wish you'd ask me, just because I don't have as much knowledge in that industry. A lot of companies are focusing on similar things when it comes to AI. And there are different types of roles in general that are probably more automatable than others. Jobs that are either like repetitive manual tasks that can be automated because we have the data around it. Like basic customer service, assistants are sort of replacing, human assistants where you might have less operators. Basic manufacturing jobs if they can be applied by artificial intelligence. So in every industry, they're going to have its own flavor of that. And I'm sure that's going to happen in the defense intelligence flavor. And if I, ask AI after this, I could probably come back to you in 30 minutes with an answer of like, oh, okay, here's where they're specifically. But I would reframe that thought process into like, what are the types of roles in general that AI is going after? Not going after, but AI is typically replacing. And then what are the ones in that specific industry that I see that happening? And then flip it to like, where is the opportunity around that? How can I get ahead of that curve if I foresee this coming? What skills do I need to develop to do that? So that may not have been a specific answer to your specific question about the industry, but generally that's how I would apply that kind of way of thinking.
That's helpful. There is one question here, and I'm going to paraphrase that question. So there's a lot of hype around AI, but for veterans starting from zero, what's the most realistic on-ramp to becoming job ready in this space? So basically, how can I build agents like that? I think that's what people are thinking about, but what would your take be?
Great question. My first take that I'll highlight earlier is based on all your experience, you're not starting from zero. Because of all the soft skills, because of all the leadership skills that you likely have, your skills are valuable, and take those and sharpen them with a foundational knowledge of AI. That being said, that's probably not what you were looking for in the answer, so I'll actually answer the intent of your question as well. Yeah, starting from zero is scary. There's a whole world of AI out there, and there's so many different terms, and it's moving at a fast pace. I do think that, finding an everyday podcast that you like, dedicating 30 minutes in the morning on your way to work, or if you're not working on, whatever, free time that you might have. Um, leverage AI to learn. Like you can have a daily reminder on your phone to prompt yourself to say, hey, what are the topics of AI that I should even think about? And then have an interaction with that. I even think like an hour a day or even less than that would get you to a good foundational knowledge of AI. So again, when I go look back at this slide here, all this stuff on the bottom is like, how do I speak the language of AI? How do I understand what's going on? How do I understand the areas that it's going to apply? But you're not starting from zero because you'll still need all of these skills that a lot of you possess. I mean, there's still areas to sharpen these soft skills as well. But applying AI, even more than building AI in some cases, is going to be a very huge use case because as people are mentioning with like code assistance and vibe coding, it's becoming easier or more accessible to build. And data and like engineers and data scientists are going to be extremely valuable because they have the knowledge and they're going to be supercharged with these code assistant tools. But how do you apply that AI? How do you find the right use case? How do you understand there's a problem to be solved? And how do you communicate the value of that? Those are going to be really critical skills that I personally don't see going away. So you're not starting from zero. It's a daunting task. Just think about it as like, I need to start by speaking the language of AI, and then you can take those next steps and say, okay, I want to build something with AI. I want to write a blog about that. There are different frameworks to think of there.
I think that is great. I also wanted to put in a plug for SkillsBuild, IBM SkillsBuild. I feel like there are a lot of people who are looking for initial support to get started on AI, and I think there are some great courses on AI on IBM SkillsBuild. So we would love for you to sign up. I think there are some guided learning courses as well that you can explore there. So we will do a separate session on IBM SkillBuild and how we can get people started there. So stay tuned, and we will send a email to this group afterwards on in terms of next steps here. But Matthew, this was a great session. I learned a lot, and I would say that there's a lot, as you clearly said, the like veterans community has a lot of great skills, and we can like they are adaptive, they can learn really quickly, and I feel like all of those things along with learning on the AI side can really help people stay ahead of times in this new future of work. So Matthew, ML, Kiki, thank you so much for joining us. Our next session is actually all going to be about translating skills from your field to a non-veteran career, a civilian career, and how do we leverage LinkedIn and resumes. And then we'll be talking also about AI as part of that, to say leveraging AI to rebuild some of the things that you can talk and share in your as you transition. So thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Thanks for everything you do. And, always feel free to connect on LinkedIn or anything like that if you're interested.